The revolution will not be televised.
The revolution will be streamed live. Welcome back to the Critical and Thinking Podcast. It is me, Ian Harris. Ty is on his way. Got stuck at the station getting in. So he will be joining us momentarily. In the meantime, I am joined by a very good friend, person who I used to train for MMA, who is now off and has now become a WWE superstar. I know her as Daria Baranato, and you may know her as Sonya Deville. So, hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Coach?
Not much. How about you? It's crazy. So for those of you who will see, our audience is very, very strange and very diverse, and we get very political, and we talk a lot about comedy and politics and stuff like that. So not everyone is probably a fan of either MMA or WWE. So this is cool. But tell people a little bit about your path, because when we met, you came from out here to Los Angeles you were in Florida at the time, but you're from New Jersey, right? Came out and you wanted to fight. And you started training pretty green, pretty new, and you jumped right in. You had a few fights, did really, really well for somebody who was new at it. You picked things up really well. And I remember you're like saying, I'm gonna be the top MMA. I'm gonna kick everybody's ass. I'm gonna be a champion. Like you were super, super driven. And then all of a sudden this WWE thing just like popped up, and it wasn't even something that was on your radar to begin with. And then what you did, like the reality show, and that's how it all started, right?
Right. Yeah. So I moved down to California when I was, maybe 2020 actually. Yeah. And I started training with you guys, and I would train full time, 5-6 days a week with you guys and Coach James over at the training center. And obviously MMA was my life. It was my passion. It was the thing that I wanted to do. And I didn't want anything more than that. I had trained for a couple years prior at American Top Team in South Florida, but
right.
Really the core of my training was with you guys. And obviously my first fight was with you guys. And you know how it is when you have your first fight and you get out there, and it's addicting. It's like, you don't want to stop, especially when you're winning. You're like, oh my God, it's the adrenaline and the rush and everything. And I thought that was my end all be all. That was all I ever wanted to do. And, life's crazy and things happen. And I was working for a podcast network, AfterBuzz TV, and I became good friends. And, Maria Menounos kind of mentored me along with her husband, Kevin Undergaro. And they kind of took me under their wing. And I remember they came to my third MMA fight, and it was actually my loss. And they were like, you can't be doing this. You're too pretty, and you can do other stuff. And I was like, no, shut up. Because, you're young and you know everything, right?
Right.
And so I just still had my eye on the prize. And a couple of months went by, and Maria called me herself, and she said, I think you're going to say no, but hear me out. And I was like, okay, what's up? She's like, there's a competition reality show with WWE called Tough Enough, and 11,000 people are trying out. No guarantee, but I could at least get you an interview to get to the tryout. And I think it would be perfect for you. And you love acting, you love on camera work, and you're an athlete and you're a fighter. So it's like kind of the culmination of both my worlds. And she's like, just try it. And I was like, well, it's a competition show, right? And she's like, yeah. I was like, well, I'll do it. I love competition. I'll do it, Thinking nothing of it. But, ended up getting narrowed down from 11,000 to 13 people that move into a house on a reality show. And lo and behold, I was one of the 13, which I surprised myself. I honestly, when I showed up to the tryout, I'll never forget, I saw a bunch of girls like my friend Mandy Rose, the blonde and the boobs and the makeup. And I'm just like, oh my God, I did not fit in here. And I didn't think I fit in with what they called at the time WWE Divas. So getting on that show and kind of getting that role was a shock to myself, as I think, maybe it was to other people. But I think I brought legitimacy and athleticism that maybe they hadn't seen before. And so I think that was kind of my role there. And the decision to leave MMA and take that risk on the reality show wasn't easy. But I was like, you know what? I'm at the time I was 22, I think. I was like, I'm 22 years old. I could always go back to MMA. Let me just give this a shot. Something in my heart and my mind just told me this feels like an opportunity and I don't want to turn it away. That's kind of how that all started.
Yeah. And I think too, there's kind of this, for some reason, MMA needs WWE more than obviously WWE needs MMA. But there's been this want to crossover because I mean we all know everyone knows wrestling it's a show and and all of that sort of stuff and UFC and Bellator UFC's billed as it's as real as it gets, so there's this whole rivalry of it's real fighting and it's fake but it's about the story and there's always been this thing, so there's this crossover where it's like people want to see UFC people who are popular go over to WWE and they want to see WWE people come over and fight in the UFC and see how their skills match up. And there's been this crossover. So it's kind of neat because you went in before Ronda. And I guess I'm not sure if Shayna was over there. I know Shayna was doing stuff in Japan wrestling or something, right?
She wasn't with WWE yet either. She came about 2.5 years after me.
Yeah. So you came in as and I think that was cool for them where it's like, oh, MMA girl. And it was like, that's a cool character because now they got somebody in who comes from the MMA world, not the other way around. And it's like, okay, this is a cool character. This is somebody who's kind of this brash, MMA chick who, who's going to punch in the face kind of a thing. And I think that was appealing. And I think, it doesn't stick with the norm of, like you were saying, when you showed up to the reality show and you're like, wait, I don't necessarily look like these girls or feel like I fit in, but there, I mean, there's also, it's not just about that, I think, but no,
but you hit the nail on the head. And that was probably 80% of the appeal to me with the whole thing was I felt like at that time I was pioneering and almost revolutionizing a female like me in the WWE at that time.
Right.
I felt like it was an untouched niche that no female had done before. There wasn't ever a female MMA fighter or even a female with, as much MMA experience as me that had been with the company before. So I looked at it as an opportunity. And when I started talking to the coaches and the producers of NXT, which is WWE's developmental organization,
right,
I really started to get the vibe that, wait, this is something special. This is something different. They haven't done this before.
Right.
And they really haven't had that tomboy, ball busting, so to speak, character in a female before. So that's where I took all my pride and really wanted to pave that path. I wanted to be the representative for women that didn't look like the status quo in WWE at that time.
Right.
And so I took a lot of pride in that. And that was definitely a big part of the appeal. Now here we are 3 years later and we have Shayna Baszler's and Ronda Rousey's and it's awesome because I think MMA and WWE do work so well together because girls like us coming from the legitimate background bring a different skill set in the ring.
Right.
And, and then we're taught the other stuff. So I think it's a really cool thing that's been happening lately.
Yeah. And also, I mean, not that it necessarily matters, but don't also sell yourself short. I mean, you may not be blonde and makeup, but you're a good looking girl. You have more,
right.
you have that tomboy, tough girl attitude thing, but you've kind of got a good mix. And I think that was really marketable. And I think they see that right off the bat and think, oh, okay, this is somebody we can work with. Now here's the question. Now, how do you go from next to the main show, to like the big show? That's kind of like the regionals to the UFC in MMA talk.
Exactly. Yeah. So NXT is a developmental organization. The average lifespan of somebody down there is anywhere from like 2 to 5 years. So after those 2 to 5 years, you're either cut or you're moved up to what we call the main roster, which is Monday Night Raw or Tuesday Night SmackDown Live. So that's kind of a really vital time and a really pressurizing time in your development in the company because it's kind of like the make or break. It's like, okay, how well is she learning? Is she coachable? Is she does she have the star quality? Does she have the it factor? Is she athletic enough? Like that's all the kind of things that are being evaluated along the way. And also you're developing your in-ring persona in that time. So although people from the outside might think that you get hired by a company like that and they give you this character and they give you all the tools and you just kind of play the part, that's false. You really are your own judge and your own jury. So it's on you to come up with what you think is marketable and what's going to work for you. And we have weekly promo classes, which is kind of like an acting class where we really work on and develop our characters in ring. So that was a really cool part for me. And I think that helped me realize to get where I am now that although I have this MMA background and this fight background, it doesn't define who I am.
Right.
Yeah, I think that someone like myself, I do have an acting background and I do have an on-camera experience. So I think it was a really good learning experience for me to realize that, yeah, I have all these tools and I'm going to use them, but it doesn't need to define who I am.
Right.
So lately has been even more fluid discovery of realizing that I can go so many different ways, with my character and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That is great. Now I saw, like, I'm not a huge WW fan even if I was, I probably wouldn't have time. I don't even have time to watch my TV shows I enjoy watching all the time. Right. But I've watched your clips, obviously being your friend. I've seen as many clips as I can find on YouTube and whatever. So you've had a couple of altercations already with Rhonda. And yeah. So how's that? What's that like? Are they gonna match you guys up in like an actual match or?
You know what? Never say never. I'm on SmackDown now, and Ronda's on Raw. So that means that we really only get a chance to fight each other if we were gonna at the pay-per-views, which are a couple times a year or whatever.
Right.
But that could change at any moment. They could trade her, they could trade me, and so on. But yeah, I've had a couple altercations with her. All I have to say is, if I were them, I think there's money. I think there's something in seeing an actual match between the two of us. But I'm very confident in saying that that'll happen in the future. Yeah,
I think it's kind of it seems like whatever they need to do to make something like that happen, that would be such a cool, that would be a good storyline. I mean, there's so much they could do with that, with two MMA girls fighting. For sure. I mean, shoot, that'd be a good time for them to bring in Holly Holm and show you that head kick. I mean, it would be, I think it could be a really cool thing. Hold on one second.
Yep.
Sorry. We're gonna have to pause and stop. Somebody. Okay. No worries. What's that? He's coming in anyway in a minute. But I thought it was Ty, so I told him I went like this, and then it was not Ty. I just saw that's my racism. I was like, oh, it's oh no, just another black guy. So that was racist of me. Anyway, I just waved somebody into the podcast studio, Daria, who I thought was my partner showing up, and it was not. So that's why.
Are we paused right now, or are we on?
They're gonna. He'll cut this out. He'll edit this. Let's hope.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I told him. That's why I called the producer, and I'm like, "Hey, somebody just walked in. What should we do?" He's like, "Oh shit, okay." So yeah, no, we'll edit, but we will start. Whoever's editing, we will start back up now.
Okay.
So let me. So what is Also, I was going to ask you. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to ask you this, or if there was an issue with any of this. But I find this interesting because we do a lot of politics on this, and me, I'm super always ranty about politics and whatever. But I looked up to make sure. I googled you, and so you are also listed as first openly lesbian wrestler. Yes.
Yeah.
WWE. That is cool. Now, did they have any problem with that, or was that fine? I mean, do they care? Do they not care? Was it even an issue?
No, it's never been a thing. I mean, I say this all the time. It's just I'm one of the fortunate few. Of course, I've gotten negative comments on social media and stuff like that in the past, but it's all relative. I mean, I've gotten so much positive that it just drowns the negative out. So I've really been blessed in my journey, especially in a professional world, sports entertainment. And honestly, everyone's been so accepting. And I even got to wear, I made custom made rainbow gear for WrestleMania last year and came out in that. And
that's so cool.
To support, the LGBTQ community. So it's been great. And I've been so blessed to have this platform to kind of stand up for what I believe in.
Yeah, and I think that's cool too, because there of course there's always going to be knuckleheads, any sport, anything, any part of American or international culture, there's going to be knuckleheads everywhere, and people always think that with MMA,
Right.
and I would imagine they would think that with WWE too. That you got like a bunch of rednecks who probably just would have a major issue with it. But I find that that's still pretty rare. Like even in MMA, I mean, there's a few guys that aren't necessarily open, but there's definitely people that are. I think there's a couple that might be openly gay MMA fighters, but. You think that that would completely turn off 90% of the MMA community, but it hasn't really been the case. Like, yeah, there's a few people who say some negative shit, but for the most part, they're just like, people are like, yeah, whatever, it shouldn't even be an issue.
It shouldn't even be an issue. My biggest thing is, I just did a media appearance a couple weeks ago that has to do with integrating sport and culture and kind of, how do I explain it? Just contradicting the fact that if you judge someone, so you're playing sports with someone, right? You're playing soccer and you pass the ball to them and they score a goal. You don't think twice of their sexual orientation, of anything, really, right? They're just your teammates, they're your friends, they're your colleague, whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't a gay basket they made.
But,
you know what I'm saying?
by the way,
that was a great field goal. Yeah, it was gay, but it was still a great field goal.
By the way, this is Ty.
Exactly.
Ty just jumped in. Ty, this is
Ty.
Hey, how are you?
Daria or Sonya. Sonya, that's her WWE character name, but I know her as Daria.
Yeah.
But call her either one. So this is Ty Barnett, comedian friend of mine, and
hey,
just sat in. So
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm gonna try not to geek out, because I'm one of those. Just so you understand, I don't know how old you are, but I know I'm older than you. But I'm one of those people who used to play with my G.I. Joe action figures, and I designed a full wrestling ring. I had intro music for them and everything. Do you understand? Like I was a fanatic. So and it took me a while. I mean, I'm sorry talking about Dusty Rhodes, all those types of cats. So to be here and this close is actually like I said, I'm gonna try not to geek out. I'm gonna try.
Oh, stop. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So yeah, I mean, I think like you said, and I think that's actually could be a really good thing as well for you, because there are so many people out there that are supportive on that end that being the first or being even a first or close to the first. I mean, anything, the fact that you are the first is amazing, but I think that's huge where somebody could easily get behind you, and there's a lot of opportunity probably for you to. I mean, not that you want to walk around exploiting something, but hey, if it's something that you're open about and proud about, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be, when someone says, hey, we want you to come to this thing and talk. And I mean, I think it's a really good, you could probably be a really huge influence for kids nowadays.
Like I have my personal agenda is to spread equality. And it's like I said before, not just in sexuality, but in gender, in everything. So
good luck with that.
And so no, I'm working on it, and it's something that honestly it means a lot to me. So, like I said, with this platform, I'm blessed to be able to do it every single day. I can use my social media and my voice and really get the message out there that you can be whoever the hell you want to be, and it's not going to stop you from being a WWE superstar. Is my direct message. So, the more I can spread that, the luckier I am.
Let me ask you something. Do you find, because I know we've found it in the comedy world, which they're equally tough. I'm just kidding. But I found in the comedy world that your messages, even though you're saying something like, I want to spread equality and all that, how that could be a trigger for certain people. Like, oh, why do you want things to be equal? So I know in comedy we feel it. We see it all the time. You just saw where Wanda Sykes had some people leave her show because she got political. Do you find that you have people that try to push any kind of agenda on you, or do they come at you and they say, hey, or try to figure out what your stance is, and once they find out what your stance is, have you gotten any negativity from that at all? Or is it just pretty much they can see past it?
Listen, I think my stance is so simple and it's so easy to understand. I want equality. I want everyone to be equal. And it doesn't go more political or further than that. It's not, I don't ever, dive into politics on my social media or anything like that, because honestly, I don't care to. And what I am enthusiastic about and what I do care about is, like I said, equality. So it's kind of hard to argue with, because I don't get many people come up to me on the street and say, well, I don't want us to be equal, like, because then they would just sound like an idiot. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, although there are people out there wouldn't say that exactly, but they'd be like, well, come on, we're already all equal. You know, you can. That's what they'll tell you. Yeah, there's no difference in America.
Well,
I've of course heard that argument too, but
right.
I try to just spread the positive and stay away from the negative as much as possible.
You're on the wrong podcast. Okay.
No. But because I honestly, I wanted to I asked her that question specifically because I know with comedy, we go to a lot of different places in the country. So, you know, traveling to certain parts of the country, there are certain things you can say and talk about. But I also know that WWE fans are still, a lot of them are, you know, kind of really deep in the Midwest in some of these areas. So that's why I asked if, you know, when you go places, you know, do you feel like kind of energy in the room? But I mean, the fact that you're saying just spread love, there should not even be a problem with that, by the way. I could say, I don't know if I told Ian this, but someone got mad at me because we were discussing something politically. But anyway, we were discussing something politically. And I said, okay, well, you can have your view. I understand. Take care. So I wrote, take care in the message. And the lady wrote back, how dare you tell me to take care? Don't ever tell me that. So
that's just people finding something wrong with everything.
Right. And that's why I asked if, like I said, because I love your message. I love the fact that you're out here, because this is my whole point is this is what we need more of. We need more people with a platform like yours, because you reach a lot of people all the time. You know what I'm saying? So people are paying attention to you. Right. And the fact that you're spreading love and equality and stuff that should just already be there is amazing.
Right. Yeah. And we travel all over the world to every city possibly in America and internationally. And like I said, I've been blessed I've never been bothered, and I've always felt the acceptance from every crowd so far. So I'm blessed. And like I said, maybe I don't think I exploit myself as much as comedians. So you guys really put it all out there. So I think maybe they see me as less of a threat. Who knows?
No, but I think there's also, it's different platforms too. I mean, your platform, you're an entertainer, and if you can use your status to do what you want with it, like we're both over here huge fans of what Colin Kaepernick's doing. A lot of people aren't, some people say, oh well, the guy shouldn't be using his stature for political, for political statements. Like, well, no, that's exactly who else, of course. But if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to. And if he wants to, he can, and he can expect the fallout, and he can expect the praise from that. But you don't have to. As comedians, my job, at least I feel, that is not just to make people laugh, but also to make people think and to actually say something. And it's a different kind of a thing. So we have to put ourselves out there as part of our job. And some places they discourage you putting yourself out there, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone has to take every stance or every stand, and all you really have to do is be you and spread your message the way you want to spread your message, because that's what's ultimately important.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I love about this, because you are, I can't even. What's the average audience now for wrestling? It has to be, it's ridiculous now, because it's everywhere. And plus with all these different streaming platforms, you can see it. You're even more accessible.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and a lot of people don't realize that not only do we do Raw and SmackDown every week, but 3 days a week we're also doing live events everywhere.
Oh, my God.
No matter what our program runs, I mean, like 7-8 shows a week, every single week of the year,
Wow.
There is no off season, which is unique to us.
I bet your frequent flyer miles are on point.
yeah, those American and Delta miles are great.
Nice. See, so let me ask you, and I don't know if Ian has asked you this, but like I said, I told you, I promised to try not to geek out. What was what has been the highlight of so far for you, where you just like, even you in that moment, you're like, oh shit, I can't believe I'm actually doing this?
Yeah, it was probably the Elimination Chamber match that I got to be a part of.
Oh.
With my best friend Mandy, and other talented women. It was just, that match was probably the most fun I've ever had in a wrestling ring since I started wrestling. Well, it was actually in the chamber, but since I started wrestling, it was just everyone wanted to put on the best possible show. Everyone was working together. It was so physical, which is what I obviously love about this world and what I loved about MMA. It was just so physical and so raw, and it was in Vegas, so I guess the vibes were just right. I don't know. That was one of the greatest matches.
Oh, I love it.
It's funny, as I still use you know me. I'm very, when it comes to fighting and training, I'm very cerebral, very, I'm the antithesis of a lot of MMA coaches that are just like, sweat, no water, blah, blah. I'm like, you're thinking about it and mental strategy and mental toughness. And that's my whole game, being smarter and being, better trained than everybody else. And I always there's a few moments that I tell people, like, that were better, for better or worse. Like, if I'll be saying, oh, so-and-so, this guy used to always have these mental breakdowns, and I'm not making fun of him, but let me explain why you need to learn from this. And I always have these little teaching moments that I tell the team, and especially new people that come in. And one of my favorite ones that I'm sure you remember, do you remember, I think it was I can't remember if it was your first or second fight, but we were out in the desert, and you did so. You're beating up this girl. She was pretty tough, but then she got you in a guillotine, and you were right up against us in the cage, right up against us in the cage. I love this. And we had the guillotine in, and you raised your hand like you were about to tap because the girl was like cranking on your neck, and I go, 10 seconds left, 10 seconds left. And then you let go, you stopped tapping, and you fought, and your head was like, you were like beet red, and you were fight. And then all of a sudden I go, 10 seconds left, 10 seconds left. And there was like 30 seconds left, by the way.
Hilarious.
And I remember you like, your eyes just looked over at me like, fuck you, dude. And at that point you were like not tapping out, and you fought it. And then you however many other seconds it was after that, you fought it off for probably a good 30 seconds. And then the round ended. And afterward, and then you went up and you ended up beating that girl. I can't remember if I think you submitted with the guillotine in the next round, I think.
With
yeah.
the guillotine.
Yes.
Yep.
And I remember that afterward, people were like, you're like, what was that bullshit? I'm like, well, I saw you going to tap, and I knew that was short time. I'm like, I just said 10 seconds. I love that moment.
To reiterate this story, this is one of my favorite moments in fighting. Ian is such a great coach in that sense, like you were just talking about, is everything in the sport was mental to you. It wasn't like, I'm a douchebag, just punch each other in the face. It was so much more than that. There was so much thought behind it and technique, and that's what I loved about it. Everyone's like, you like getting punched in the face for a living? And I was like, okay, it's a lot more than that, idiot.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got to be.
That's what I loved about training with Ian. But so it was my first ever MMA fight. I was remember how hyped up I was before the match? I was like doing circles around the thing.
Yes.
I was standing in the wrong corner. Ian's like, you're the blue corner. And I was like, oh, crap. All right. So
oh, my God.
I was literally like a kid in a candy store. I was so excited. Not a fear in my body, my first fight, which is so funny. I think you get scared as fights go on more because you know what it feels like.
Right.
But the first one, you're so naive to the feeling of getting punched in the face, really. Full throttle. I mean, obviously, we practice, but
that brings me to my my next question. What was going through your head the exact moment you first got punched in the face really hard?
Well, I don't think I got punched in the face really hard that fight, to be fair. But but the first time I got hit in that fight, I remember being like I don't know, I had such a good spirit that fight. I just felt so invincible. Like I said, it wasn't until my third fight when I really got rocked, and in that moment I was like, holy crap, this is what it feels like.
Wow.
Well, that was Jasmine, right?
That was Jasmine.
Who trains at the gym now? Who trains at my new gym?
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, she comes in, and she's been off and on injured, and but yeah, I mean, she comes in here and there, and she comes at her dad and her uncle's.
World.
Yeah, she's a really cool girl, actually. I like her a lot. She's really nice.
Yeah, I liked her. After our fight, we hugged, and it was like the split decision or whatever, and she ended up winning, and she was raising my hand, and it was really good chemistry and stuff that we had in the cage. And she's definitely a naturally talented, athletic girl. But I just remember at the time she was throwing haymakers that were coming from her waist.
Yeah, they were ridiculous.
ridiculous. And I was able to dodge and weave most of them because I could see them coming from a mile away. And one or two clipped me, and I was, in another town. I checked out, and I remember naturally having my hands up, and then waking up from like coming back to and just defending myself, and then turning things around, and just went back and forth the whole fight. But that was the first time I got rocked, and yeah, that was an experience.
Ooh. Yeah, that was definitely a crazy fight, because I remember she hit you at one point, and you probably totally rocked, and you like turned your back and like ran away. I'm like, where is she going? And then you like covered up and then took her down or something. And I go, okay, that one must have hurt, because I've never seen Terry turn her back like that before. But how is it now?
I was like, bye.
Right, bye, see ya. But how is it now that doing wrestling? Because like we talked about briefly at the beginning, like MMA people are always like, oh, wrestling's fake, and then in wrestling people are like, no, yeah, it's a show, but we sacrifice the hell out of our bodies. And I know some, we remember Doug. I remember Doug used to train with us, and Doug does wrestling on a smaller scale, but that dude does. I've seen some of the stuff he does, and he does some crazy stuff. Like I think he broke his arm the other day or something, jumping out of the ring onto a folding table. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Whoa.
So what's the worst? Have you been like cracked hard or dropped on your head or anything really, really gnarly since you've been doing wrestling?
Knock on wood, I'm safe and healthy. But you crack your head a lot. It's because the bumping is. You're bumping on your back and your neck, and obviously you're not supposed to hit your head, but there's been numerous times where that happens, and I've been more scared to get injured in wrestling than I ever was in MMA. I was never scared of getting.
Wow, I'm actually surprised at that.
MMA, because in MMA, obviously people do break bones and stuff, but for the majority of your injury, it's like your eyes are swollen shut, you get a bloody nose, broken nose. Like, it's not that common to get a broken neck in MMA, or like to break your back or anything like.
I'm not gonna lie. The fact that she nonchalantly said that, it's kind of scared the hell out of me. Like, yeah, it happens.
Sometimes you break your nose.
Like, I would get punched in the face all day, every day, rather than do a flip and land on my neck. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah, well, you have to sacrifice your body, and you're the one that takes the damage when you're doing wrestling, because you have to fall right. You have to sacrifice someone. You're dropping on top of somebody, and you're the one that actually takes the hit, or at least a good percentage of the hit, versus them taking the hit. Whereas at MMA, it's like you can go out there and hopefully you don't take any hits and they take all the hits. That's the whole strategy. Whereas the exact opposite strategy in wrestling is you go out there, and to win you have to take all this damage because you're doing all the cool shit.
Exactly. So yeah, it's definitely just a different mindset, and I love the physicality. I love getting physical, and I've always been an athlete my entire life, so it's just natural to me, and I love it. I embrace it. But it's not to say that it's not super scary, and there's obviously moments where we are hurting, but it just goes to show that when you are down in developmental and you're practicing and you're learning every single day and honing your craft, you're doing it for a reason. You're learning the technique so that you can protect yourself.
All right, I'm gonna take you back to I don't know if it ever happened in your life. Were you ever bullied? And did you ever run into anybody that you see now that you can kick their ass now and they avoid you?
I feel like I have. Okay, so in high school, I wouldn't say I was bullied. I have a hard time feeling bad for myself. So I know
I love that.
Really wrong. And
no, that's a great attitude, actually.
Bad, though, because there's nothing wrong with embracing the fact that you went through a hard time and you've overcome it, because that's amazing, and that's
exactly
strength. But I don't believe that I was bullied. There was definitely girls that were mean and stuff like that, and I would love to see them. Be like, how's your 9 to 5?
Thank you for being honest. I thought you were going to give me the very PC answer, like, well, no, kind of just moved on past that. You're like, no, if I see him, I'm gonna let him know.
Yeah, right.
No, I'd be lying. No, it's definitely a good feeling. But you know what? I worked hard to get here, and something that I pride myself in is that I did it myself. I didn't have anybody in my family that was in MMA or wrestling or that knew anything about it for that matter or supported it for that matter. So I took a lot of pride in what I did my years when I was in California, because I moved out there on a limb. Ian knows. I kind of saved up like $4,000 for my bartending job in Jersey, moved out to LA, and ended up bartending there and ended up managing a bar there by the end. And, I would work the bar shift. I've worked from like 2-3 p.m. till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd close it. And then I'd meet Coach James at Coast Fitness for boxing training at like 7 a.m. And then I'd come to team practice after.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a grind, but it taught me so much, and it makes me appreciate where I'm at now so much.
Nice. So dope.
Of what I went through. It just feels so good to have done it myself. So
yeah, I remember when when you came out, like I said at the beginning, you were, it was MMA related, but you were like, no, I'm gonna be famous. Like you were like, I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna beat that person. Like you were really determined. And I mean, honestly, like I said, you trained at ATT and you'd done a little bit, but compared to a lot of the other people, you were pretty green, and you were one of the smallest people on the team. So I was like, I remember a few people gave me shit about letting you on the team. They're like, she's kind of new. I'm like, dude, she's super determined and she's tough. So I'm like, we're going to let her in. And I know a few people were kind of like, I don't know, that's a good decision. But like within a few months, everyone was like, no, that's cool. She's tough. I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was,
no, definitely.
Yeah, but that was the determination, and that's why when you went to do the wrestling thing, I was like, this is gonna work out.
I know. I've always done this my whole life. When I get my mind set on something, I'm so driven, but to like a point of stubbornness where like I don't know. It's just like this thing I get inside me where I'm just so confident on something. I'm like, I know this is it, and with MMA at the time, that was my everything. I didn't want to be, a mid-card fighter. Like, yeah, I'm going to do this for a little while and then go back to bartending. Like, no, like I wanted to be.
No. If you decided to get hit, if you decide to hit and get hit for a living, you pretty much got to stick with that.
Yeah. And I was committed. And when the WWE opportunity came around, I got that same exact feeling in my heart and my gut. And I just knew it was right. Although it was very hard, because I remember I had my 4th fight lined up, and if I didn't make it on the reality show, I was going to fight that fight. But if I did make it on the reality show, I was going to have to give it up.
Right.
Because I was going to be in Florida. And I remember I got the call that I made on the reality show, and I was like, I had a strong sense like this is fate. Like this is what was supposed to happen. This is where I'm supposed to be. And as I was on the reality show and later got eliminated and started training wrestling back in LA, I just knew this was going to be something. I knew it was going to work out. And maybe this isn't the end all be all either. Maybe I'll have 5 more of those before I die, but it's okay, because in this moment, I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. So
what about acting? You ever thought about acting?
Yeah. I mean, that was first and foremost passion even before MMA. So, luckily I get to do that every single week on TV with wrestling.
Well, I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's the best part of this. I was telling Ian earlier, is it's the combination of the two things I've always loved. And that's, being in front of the camera, acting. And I even produced a, little indie film when I was younger, and being in the filmography world, and then also fighting. So it's kind of both combined, but I would love to pursue acting further.
Let me ask you, when you got the WWE opportunity, did you did you start studying wrestling more, or did you have people that you looked up to in wrestling that you said, okay, let me at least kind of see? Because here's what I did not realize. I mean, I realized it later when I became an adult 2 weeks ago. But I realized it later when I was like, oh man, this is their persona, this is their character, and these are things that they map out. So when that was happening, when you knew that you were going to get this opportunity, did you say, okay, who did you study, who did you look at, and how much did you shape before you did your first WWE thing?
So, like I was telling Ian earlier, I will not sit here and lie to you and tell you that I grew up watching wrestling, because I really didn't at all. It was never something I was into. It was never something at all that I watched. So when I got the opportunity, I did my homework. I mean,
nice.
But I have like hundreds of years to catch up on. So, but I really, really studied the current roster and who came before me, and really just tried to learn the ins and outs as I'm still learning. I'm 3 years in, and I still feel, green as grass, because it's one of those industries like fighting where you just never stop growing, and there's always something new to learn, and there's always something you don't know. So, yeah, I definitely now I look up to a lot of people, man. I look up to Brock Lesnar was obviously like my first appeal, because I was like, whoa, he did what I did, but even cooler, he's he fought MMA and wrestling and MMA, and so I loved obviously his style and his look and how he carried himself in the ring is just like a pure badass. Not ever trying to put on, he just so realistic. And then, I look at other people for different reasons, like Shawn Michaels and how good he was at getting the crowd behind him and his vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a good reference.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I look up to so many people from the past and still that I work with today in the present of the wrestling industry.
Let me ask you this, and I'll turn you over to Ian real quick, because the thing I've noticed in wrestling over the years is the physical fitness of the wrestler. Because like if I tell you Dusty Rhodes was one of the best wrestlers in ever history, but if you saw Dusty Rhodes on the street, he does not look like he's a wrestler. And if you know what I'm saying? I'm being honest, but I mean, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. But my whole point is that in my mind as a kid, that dude was totally fit. He was totally fit to be a wrestler. Same thing with like King Kong Bundy, these cats. So I think for when you came along, like you brought up Brock Lesnar, is like, because Brock was huge.
Or The Rock.
Yeah,
these guys like in crazy shape. Yeah. It's. I grew up. I watched a little bit of wrestling when I was a kid, but I was begging and wanting something like MMA when I remember as a little kid, I'd be flipping through the channels trying to find boxing, or I wanted to find kickboxing. It was nowhere on the air when I was a kid. Like you couldn't find kickboxing if your life depended on. I'm like, is there any karate? Is there any kung fu? Like, how can I find some stuff on TV where people are really punching them? And that's all I cared about. So I would watch the wrestling a little bit when I was a kid, but man, it was like boxing came on or some sort of combat sport, and they just didn't exist. And nowadays you can't get away with it, away from it, which is.
But let me ask you this: I never, you know what? I didn't even realize I've never asked Ian this. So, what was your reaction the very first time you saw it on television? Like no gloves. Just what was your very first reaction?
Like the very first UFC?
Yeah, the very first time you saw it on television with dudes actually. Because I can tell you, I saw a promo of a dude getting a tooth knocked out of his mouth.
Oh yeah, I saw that one live.
See, there you go. Okay, so what was the first time when you first saw it? He's like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we waited and waited. When we heard about the UFC, it was like, that was the thing. Like anybody who was into martial arts, and I was big into martial arts, was like, this is what we've been wanting to see our whole lives. Like, this is it. So the first UFC, and I had done some grappling, so I wasn't that thrown off. But I know a lot. But I was still thrown off because I wasn't at the level of like Hoist Gracie. I didn't know how good those guys were. So to see Hoist Gracie go in there and just dismantle all these dudes, and choke them out and armbar them, guys that were like, he's a 400-degree black belt in Shirinjiru karate, and he lasted 3 seconds, and you're like, oh God, I wasted my life. Yeah. Right, but you just go, whoa, this is all bullshit. Now I got to go learn some real shit, and then it was cool it was kind of cool to see that and go, okay, well, this is, instead of going, oh shit, my stuff sucks, or I didn't learn the right thing. It was a way for me to go, oh, okay, cool. I see the stuff that did work from what I've learned, and I see the stuff that certainly didn't work from what I learned, and now I need to now I know what I get to go learn. If I really want this shit to work, I gotta go learn some of this stuff. So to me, it was cool. It was an eye opener, man, and it was. I mean, I never missed a UFC or a Pride or any of those shows that were on pay-per-view. I didn't miss one for 20 straight years, I think. I watched every single fight event that I could possibly get. I have a VHS and DVD and everything I could get my hands on. God. Yes, it's crazy.
How do you work on your shins? Like, I'm serious. This is a serious question, because every time I even think about getting into this, because I've thought about training with Ian, just so you know, Dari, I've thought about training with him. Every time I've gone by the studio, I'm like, well, you know what? I might need to do this. And then I'll hit my shin on the bed, and I'm like,
I'm going to make a comment about the shins before Ian tells you how to train them. I tell people all the time, I would rather you punch me in the face as hard as you could than for me to go to kick you and you check it and your knee hits my shin because it hurts your elbow.
Oh,
to me, that is the worst pain in the fight world.
Oh my God, it has to be. Oh my, see, that's why I said when I see these fights and I see these kicks that y'all are taking or giving, I'm like, come on. You acting like that doesn't hurt? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I think you get used to it, and during the fight, Dario will back this up. It's a million times worse training than it is in a fight. Because when a fight, you've got adrenaline going. You feel it the next day, but during the fight, you don't really feel. Sometimes there's stuff you feel, but you don't usually feel it. In training, when you're going 80%. And you kick somebody and they check it and you hit like in the top of the foot, like right in the metatarsals, or just in between where the ankle and the shin meet. And you hit knee shin to knee, and you get that like soccer ball on your shin that pops up. Okay. That is the worst fucking pain at 80%. Okay. It's worse than it is 100%. But well, hey, we got to go here because we started late. But I'm gonna tell everybody where they can find you, how they can follow you, and so how they can become a fan if they're not already a fan, and then. We'll let you go, and then we will do a quick wrap, and we'll be done.
Let us know when you get your action figure.
Yes. Do you have an action figure?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, it's coming out this year, but I'll send them to you guys when I get them.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be sweet. All right, cool. See, I know somebody with an action figure.
Yeah, right? First of all, I want to say I wouldn't be where I am today, and that's not just me saying that. That's a fact without Ian Harris, because
thanks.
you were my MMA coach. You taught me so much about the fight world and about myself. More than just a fight coach. It goes deeper than that. If you've ever been in system training center, you can understand that. Tell Marcus I said hi, by the way, and all those guys. I miss them all.
For sure. By the way, I opened up my own gym. But
you opened your own?
Yes, I did. Just recently, though.
You're separate from them.
Yep, but I still talk to them all the time. It's right in Mid-City, right by my house, called Fight Science. Like the old, like I always called it.
Fight Science. I have seen that.
Yes,
okay,
but we're still affiliated with Systems though, because a lot of the guys still train there. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
even better.
Yes, well, but I will.
Anyway, you can see me every Tuesday night live on SmackDown, and you can follow me at Sonya Deville WWE on all your social media handles.
All right.
And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really awesome. We have to have you on again, and we'll talk politics one of these days.
Oh, God, never.
No. But I think we specifically did not do that with you. Yes. Yay. Yes. Look, America. We did it, all right? We did it. I know you try. They can never not talk about it. But you helped us get through it.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Making the world positive one podcast at a time.
That's right.
One podcast at a time.
All right, Darren. Well, we'll talk soon. Keep it up. Love you. It was good talking to you.
Love you, Ian. See you guys. Thank you.
All right, take care.
See you.
Bye.
All right, that was super fun, man.
Yeah.
I know I came in late, but it was actually cool to talk to an actual WWE superstar. I can add that to the checklist there,
right?
But that was cool. I did not see him. You got props. Look at that, Ian Harris, you guys.
That's right.
Not only is he smart, he trains motherfuckers how to kick people's asses. Did you see that?
Real and fake.
That's see.
No,
but we're gonna wrap this up. I want to say this. So I know we didn't talk politics for most of the thing, but I'm gonna say this just to get it off my chest. What the fuck is happening right now is fucked up. It's fucked up. You mean to tell me that we close an investigation in a week?
Without interviewing
anybody and actually turning away people that are bringing information. We do this in a week, and you expect us to believe that this country is still fair and still just in any way, shape, or form. Fuck every last one of y'all that voted for this motherfucker. Every last one of you.
I agree. We'll see you next week, and hopefully this time we'll actually both be here instead of. It seems like one of us has been gone lately.
No. We're here for
We're here next.
Yeah,
all right. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Critical and Thinking Podcast. I'm Ian Harris.
Ty Barnett.
See you next time.